Hello everyone, Gavin here again from Hologram Productions. Massive shout out to all new subscribers. The channel is getting a lot of support and it's great to see it growing and getting great responses and a lot more requests to my email for the personal tutorials, and it's been great fun working on them, and thus far people have been happy with what they have been getting. I strongly recommend that if you're the type of person who has specific requests and pinpoint precise questions regarding sounds you want to make or imitate from your favorite artist, no matter how obscure the artist or genre, then you're going to get your money's worth from one of my tutorials. Pretty confident I can help you out. Well, maybe not that last one. Anyway, let's do Ben Bohmer. So credit where it's due from the outset. Ben Bohmer, although I think it's pronounced Ben Bohmer, is one of the very few producers who is very open about his process online. He has a couple of YouTube videos where he shows you on Ableton exactly how he makes his sounds and the instruments that he uses. So I've got to give him credit for that. Half of the sounds that I'm going to make on this video take direct inspiration from what he does, and the other half are sort of like educated guesses and adaptations. So we're going to start off the way he does by creating some interesting melody line idea and then taking inspiration from that and then creating something off the back of it. I think normally what he would do is he would start with a loop from a pack. I'm just going to create a loop using a Celeste in Contact and chop it up. This is how you combine the organic with the electronic. You just take a sample that you performed and then chop up 16th blocks, paste them together until you find a loop that sounds good. Yeah, sounds quite nice. So I'm just going to quantize this so it's got a bit of a groove and then add a few audio effects. And I'm also going to create a version of it up a full octave and then add a few more audio effects to that. One technique he uses is that he takes a musical idea and then he converts it to melody so he can use the MIDI to create a lead. This is where the Diva synth comes in, his synth of choice. So I'm going to fast forward as I sort of change the MIDI to create a melody using this brassy sound. I quite like it sped up like this actually, it's kind of got a funny sound. So I'm fast forwarding to the arduous process of actually finding a preset that I like and then tweaking things just so in order to make it sound just like yours. It does take ages. Boom, okay, that sounds good. Very, very epic. Great, now I'm starting to get all warm and fuzzy. Very emotional stuff. Okay, time for the pad. Again, Diva, and I'm just going to play this out on my MIDI keyboard. Actually, I'm using my laptop. Use the letters A, D, G, K to give yourself a major chord with the upper octave note. So I'll fast forward through me tweaking the MIDI notes until I get the chord progression that I think sounds good. Damn, it almost sounds like music for worship. Yeah, it's going to need a kick very soon. But Ben tends not to put his kick until very near the end of the process. Oh, sod it, I want a kick. I'm going to use kick too. He uses the original kick. He describes a preset that he uses, and I found it, but then I tweaked it, kept tweaking until I found a sound that I like. Just want to keep playing around with the attack, the noise, the click sound. Should it be early? Should it be late? Yes, spot on. Love it. This is perfect. Okay, now let's move on to the bass. Now Ben Bohmer has a very distinct two-note bass which glides up like I didn't see yeah, that sounded really stupid doing it by voice, but I couldn't find in the video how he makes this, so I kind of had to figure this out using wavetable. I'm pretty sure it's a saw wave, but how we manipulate the envelope is very crucial here. So watch the arc that I'm creating on envelope 3, then you go into the matrix and you apply the number 7 on the pitch. Then to compensate, you go into the MIDI and you bring all the MIDI notes down by 7 semitones. So it'll start below 7 semitones and glide up to the pitch that you want. The glide is too slow, so I'm just going to pull the attack back a bit. Just a little bit forward there. Yeah, this sounds right. So I'm going to widen the bass with classic unison, 3 voices and at about 20% amount. Yeah, we're getting pretty close to the sound now. This sounds pretty good. Let's bring in all the drums. Start with a soft hi-hat. And now it's time to come up with a snare. Now this bit's incredibly tedious. You know how long it takes to make a snare. So I'm going to just fast forward it. I spent a long time trying to find a snare sound that sounds right, and then I ended up with this. I'd like a secondary snare underneath that, like a woody block. Yeah, to be honest, I think I almost prefer this on its own. Yeah, you see, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now 16th shakers. I'm just going to use the LFO tool in order to sidechain it. Make sure you're careful with your EQ to scoop out the highs and any sharp S sibilants, because Ben Bohmer's sound is very soft. Vocoder is a really good way of brightening and widening your hi-hats. Now the ARP that we made earlier with the Diva, I'm just going to create my manipulatable macros. I'll do this very, very quickly. Things like delay, attack, reverb, all that jazz. But notice the plugin that I use in order to create variety is a plugin called Portal. It's a really cool grain delay. I recommend you get it, and I'm using simple fifths. It's so beautiful and fuzzy and warm. Now I'm going to take the chords that we use for the pad and input it into a piano. I'm using Gentleman, which is a Contact preset. I'm going to boost the low mids just to give it a bit more meat in that chordy stab. Now I'm going to show you an interesting technique that you can use using the simpler slice method, where you can just find a random, well, not a random slice, in this particular case it's the main melody slice, and then you can chop it up, and then you can add a bunch of audio effects such as delay, reverb, and once you've gotten all of that, you can transpose it up really, really high, and it gives it this really crystalline brightness. So I'm thinking that the melody idea that we built the entire track around isn't as good as it could be anymore. I want to do something new, so I'm going to go back to the Celeste. New loop, and we're going to put it back into simpler, and we're going to chop it up using the slice method that I just used for the crystalline brightness. Just quick fast forward past this part. We're aiming to do something similar to the technique that he uses in the track Beyond Beliefs, but he didn't explain quite how he did it, so I'm just making it from scratch. So now I'm just chopping out an awful lot of the MIDI notes that we don't need to give it a bit of groove, and then I'm going to add audio effects on this after it in order to give it a bit of space, including things like redux, erosion, reverb, delay, in order to give it that wideness. He uses a specific distortion plugin. I'm just using stock plugins to use the same effect. There's a very sharp EQ cutoff because it was a massive build-up in that specific area. Have the algorithm set to transients on the simpler and pull the envelope down to about 30. I am still going to keep the original sample, but I think I'm just going to use it for stuff, like reverbed, just stuff really. I suppose you could call this warm ear candy or something. Or magical floatiness. Let's not forget that distinctive lead that he has on that track. I just flat out stole the MIDI and just basically did a cover version of it. And yeah, that's what you get. Right, enough preamble, let's listen to the whole arrangement. Don't forget to contact me on this email address if you want the personal treatment. No more interruptions, I promise. You do remember to subscribe and click the bell, didn't you? Okay, I promise, I'll stop now. I suppose the one thing that this does miss is a nice emotional vocal line. Not bad. I think we got pretty close to the Ben Bohmer sound there, even though the vocal was absolute gash. Couldn't resist because it was mildly amusing. As usual, the samples are available on my Bandcamp. Feel free to use them in your own tracks. And don't forget to subscribe, and I shall see you all very soon. Oh yeah, and thanks for all the support, by the way. And it's Ben Bohmer. Why do I keep forgetting to pronounce it Böhmer?